Well, good morning and welcome to my YouTube channel. So this morning I'm going to do something completely different. I'm going to drive around various locations because the weather's been horrible recently and it's not nice today, so we've got rain today as well. So my plan is I'll drive around 10 different locations. The rule is I've got to stay close to the van. I'm only allowed one shot at each location, so as you know, that'll be a real challenge for me just to take 10 photos. So join me this morning and let's see how this works out. Location I've stopped at is a real historical bridge, and it's called the Packhorse Bridge. It was built, I think, around about the 1700s by General Wade so that the English armies could get all the way up to Fort William. So what we'll do is, I'm starting to think I shouldn't have decided I would only have one photo, but I'm going to take one photo of the bridge and follow me and let's see how we go on this morning. Alright, so this is the old Ardagh Bridge, or the Packhorse Bridge, that was allegedly built for all the English armies to go across, and look how narrow that is. It's really narrow. Right, so I'm just going to lift the camera up so you can see what I can see. Alright, so I've got the Packhorse Bridge here on my left hand side, but as you can see down here, from a compositional point of view, it's all trees and bushes and overgrowth, so I'm not going to be able to get any photo there. I'm looking across the road, but even from across the road it's going to be a tight image. There is an image here, so if I walk closer to the car park area, and if I then turn the camera around and then look round, I can see the top of the bridge. But what I'll do is I'll walk along the road just at the edge of the bridge and see if there's any composition opportunities there, and then I'll report back in a wee while. So as you can see, I'm right on the road edge and I can see the bridge. It's not a great view, however I do have an angle here where I could take a shot at the bridge. I've got some water, and then I've got the bridge as the leading line from the bottom right over to the top left in my image. So why don't I take a shot now just before the rain comes on and soaks me. Right, so I'm shooting handheld. I'm not going to put my tripod out just because this could get quite a busy area, and plus it's really tight, so there's no place to put a lot of things. So the composition that I mentioned earlier, I do have a bottom left to right view of the bridge, and I've got a crow that's just landed that might give me some interest. And what I've done is I've set the camera to HDR mode, so I've now got 3 exposure compensations, albeit I'm shooting handheld. So right, I'm only allowed one shot. I've had my shot. I'm actually tempted to do a lot more and look for different angles, but I can't, so I'll have to jump the van and let's move on. Stopped at my second location, and as you can see it's quite a landscape shot. Well, hopefully. It's just rained all the way here, so I was trying to make sure I was getting a spot where I could grab before the rain started again. But what I'm what I liked here in this composition was the mountain range and the clouds. So what I'll do is I'll set up my camera, because this is really hard because I've only got one shot. And to be honest, I'm really struggling, so I'm driving along the road thinking, that would make a good shot, that would make a good shot, and then I think, wait a minute, I've only got 10 shots to take this morning. So, because I was looking at sheep and pulling into the side of the road to take photos of sheep, but then I couldn't stop safely, so, right, so this is the first kind of lay-by that I've been able to find along the single track road. I'll stop rabbiting on, I'll go and set up my camera, I'm going to use filters because I have only got one shot, and I want to make sure I've got the detail in the sky as well as the foreground. You might hear a lot of shouting in the foreground. There's a cycle event on, because I was going to go up that road and then I seen all these people in luminous bibs. So I stopped and asked if there was a cycle event. So rather than interrupt the event, I can go on alternate roads, so it's no issue. Right, so let's see what I can get here. I'm going to zoom in because I want the sheep in the base of my image, because that'll give me a wee bit of foreground interest. I'm just looking to see, actually, do you know, this would actually make quite a nice panoramic shot. So I know I'm only going to create one image, but what I'd like to do, there's quite a nice panoramic vista right in front of me. So what I'm going to do is turn the camera around. I will zoom right in. Right, so now I need to adjust my filters. So I want the polarizer at the top, because the reason I want the polarizer at the top is so I can get a dark blue gradient coming down from the top of the image. So I'm zoomed in, I'm just checking to see where I want to start and where I want to finish. Right, so because I've got the filters on and I've got an ISO at 800, it's quite windy. So I'm going to lower my shutter speed to a 60th of a second. I'm going to increase my ISO to f11. I've still got ISO 800, because believe it or not, it's still quite dark. So I'm just going to drop my ISO to 640. I'm just sweeping round because I want to make sure I've got the definition of the clouds. And I'm turning my camera because I also want to make sure that edge of the field is my horizon line. So as I take these images, it's going to bevel just because of the ground that I'm sitting on and the angle that I've got my camera. So what I'll do is I will start here. I'll take my first image. Right, I also need to put my 2-second timer on, so I'll do that again. Right, so that's my first image. I'll take my second image, my fifth. Oh, this could be quite a tight panel. And my sixth shot, and the light keeps changing on me all the time, so this could be tricky. So actually I don't need to put my hand in front of me because each of the 10 images is going to be completely different anyway. So that's me finished. I will create one image from those either 5 or 6 images that I've taken there to create that single panoramic, just because of the landscape view that's in front of me. So let's jump back to the van and let's see what other composition we can find. Alright, so I've just pulled into the side of the road because I've seen an old, it looks like the old Comrie Golf Club clubhouse. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for a completely different composition and try and take a shot from really low down with the 400mm lens, so that I could just some of the long grasses in the foreground as that wee bit of interest, and then use that so hopefully I can get that blurred out and then focus on the man-made structure. So let me try and see what angle I can get. I'm just lying down here and I'm just focusing in on the clubhouse. Let's check that image. Yep, I think because I'm lying down, it's quite tricky to see the back of the camera. So I've taken my shot, so I've got a man-made object now. So I've taken my first image, taking a second, I've now got my third, so 7 more to go. So for all our whisky lovers, this is the famous Glenturret Distillery. So what I'll do is I'll take a shot from this angle of the distillery. So I've got a few choices. There's either the river behind me, but it's kinda covered and framed with a lot of leaves, so you're not going to get a really clear picture. But what will do is I'll go down low. I've got f11 400th of a second and ISO 400, and I'm just going to check from my viewfinder. If I lower my ISO to 160, I'll go back to my viewfinder. I want a low composition because I want to get the van and I want to get the distillery in focus. Right, so that's our fourth shot in the bag. Cracking wee river and waterfall at the side of the road, and oh, it's absolutely stunning. I'm gutted, I've only got one photo to take, so I'm going to use this as also a little recce because I need to come back here, because I've been here before in the winter and there was no growth and no leaves, and now there's leaves and the sun's coming in. It's absolutely stunning. So what I'll do is I'm going to put my long lens on, because I can see where the small waterfall is through the trees. But what I might have to do for this one shot is focus straight into that dark area and see if I can get that little pool that's still. Anyway, let me crack on. Let's go down to the side of the river. I've not got wellies either, so I can't go in. But let me go to the side of the river, let's get set up, and I'll explain to you any compositions that I see. And I'm gutted there's only one shot here. Right, so I'm not sure if you can see, let's just turn this on. Right, so I'm not sure if you can see the composition that I've set up. So I've got the waterfall at the top, I've got this pool of water in the bottom, and then I've got a little trickle of water down here on the bottom side, just to frame my image, and I've got all these leaves. So what I plan to do is I'm just waiting on the light coming in, because the light's been hitting the inside of the brown leaves and lighten them up from time to time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for the sun to hit that, and then what I'll do is, oh, we've lost focus. So then what I'll do is I'll take my shot, and what I will do is a multiple exposure because it's so dark in there, and then to get that one image I will use probably 3 or 4 exposures to build up the image, because as you'll see, the highlights on these leaves on the frame are far too bright. So when I put in here comes the sun, when I do a multiple exposure, that'll help pick it up. Right, so let me get cracking and catch this image. This is quite tricky, I tell you. It's quite hard. I thought this would be a lot easier, but it's not, because I'm being really conscious of what I take a photograph of. I'm being really conscious of the variety of images that I'm trying to take. There's a lot of images when you're driving, you see some cracking images, but you can't stop, and you can't stop safely at the side of the road. So, right, I'll stop rabbiting on and let's move on and find the next location. Alright, so I've just stopped at the side of the road because across the road there's an old ruin. It's an old castle, Monsey Castle, and it's actually the entrance to the Monsey Castle estate. But because it's so old, it's in a lot of disrepair, so there's a lot of fences and gates around it, and there's signs everywhere saying do not go near it. So I've parked at the side of the road. I'm going to go over and take a shot for the side of the road. Luckily I've got my 70-200 lens on, so I'll be able to reach and get a composition from here. So wish me luck. Alright, so I'm just standing here at the castle. I'm just checking my settings because it would help if I took my lens cap off. I thought it was pretty dark. Right, wow. So way blown out at the moment, so drop my ISO to 100, increase my shutter speed to at least 125. I've got f11 now, even though the sun's directly on it, so I'll need to turn my stabilisation on and off. Right, I'm just looking for a nice composition. I'll give myself space so that I can play about with it later on in case I need to. So I'll take that shot, and there's my shot. Right, let's move on. Alright, so I've just jumped at the van because I've seen a really nice composition. The sun's shining on those trees up there and it could make quite a nice shot. So, because there's some really nice shadows underneath them. So I've still got my 70-200 on the lens, so I'm right at the edge of the field. So what I'll do is let me get set up and I'll take that shot and I'll walk you through what I'm doing. Alright, so I've got my lens, my 70-200 on. Oh, that's nice. Well, so we've got some sheep in this shot for interest. I'm just checking my settings because it's really, really bright. So I'm just lowering my ISO to 100. I've got what I might do is increase my shutter speed to 250. So I've got a good chance of it being sharp, especially as I'm hand holding at the moment. Which means I'm having to put my ISO up to 400. I'm just checking my exposure compensation meter. It's saying I'm one stop over, so if I reduce the ISO down to ISO 250, I check my exposure compensation meter again, so I'm now one under, so that's okay. I'm just going to change my shutter speed to single. Right, so get my composition right, handheld. I've got sheep in the bottom right hand side, I've got the trees. I'll take my shot. And that could be quite a nice image. So let's move. Okay, so I've stopped at Inner Peffray Chapel. It's got huge historic significance. What I'll do is I'll find out what that historic significance is, and then I'll probably share that and I'll put some text in because I know it's famous. But what I'll do is I'll just walk along the path, I'll take the long lens, and then we'll just see what image we can get. So this is the old historic chapel here, but what I was going to try and do is look for a composition where, rather than take a photograph of the chapel, is maybe use one of these headstones as a point of interest and then just try and take a shot of the old door without getting all the plastic in the way. Right, so what I might do is lower my f-stop to say 5.6 because I want to get those headstones out of focus. I've reduced my ISO to 50, so let me just check where I am. Right, so I'll just I'll zoom in. So I'm going to do a portrait shot here, and I'll get some grass in the image. I'm really just trying to take a shot of the doorway. I'll take that shot, and that could be quite a different composition. Alright, so let's make our way back to the van. I honestly can't believe how hard this is. So we'll get back to the van and we'll go and find another location. Alright, so what I want to do is adjust my f-stop to f2.8. Let me just check. So that'll be nice, but what I want to do is get the background. It's far too bright, so if I drop my ISO to 50, so I've got 250th of a shutter speed, ISO 50, f2.8. So it's not too dark, but what I want is the background to be brighter. So let me have a look at this, check my exposure compensation. Now just look for a right composition with the roadies. Now there's some leaves above me that are blown out, which could be quite nice. So as a frame, so I've effectively got a 1/250th of a shutter speed, f2.8 ISO 50. I'm hand holding, hence why I've got 250th shutter speed. I've got leaves from the tree in the top left, and I've got the roadies, and then I've got the fields in the background. I'll take that shot, and that could be quite a nice shot. Alright, so let's move on, and let's get our last image. So last shot is, before I go home, is I've spotted this old derelict cottage. So I'll show you the cottage. Hang on. Let me just increase the f-stop so you can see in here. There we go. So I've spotted this old cottage. So what I was going to do was use one of the logs as a leading line, and what we'll do is we'll shoot from the log through to the entrance, and we'll see if we can get a nice image there. Alright, so for this last shot, what I'm going to do is use this log as a leading line. I've lined up the log, I've got the door, and that's at 1/25th of a second, f11, ISO 100, and that's us finished. So it's certainly been different. It's been quite a challenge actually. So ideally I should probably have made my target 5 images rather than 10, because it's taken me over 4 hours just to drive round and find spots. So lots of things I've learned. So when you're driving and you see compositions, you can't always stop because it's not safe and there's no place to stop anyway. So you keep driving to find more. I've been using my 70-200 lens quite a lot because it gives me a longer reach from the side of the road. And it's been really good. I've been doing a lot of handheld rather than tripods, because getting the tripods set up quickly at the side of the road has been quite a challenge. So I've actually really enjoyed it. So I hope we can make a video out of this. I hope you enjoy it. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do, because you know it's free. And if you press the bell notification, that'll let you know the next time I post a video. So thanks very much for watching, and here's to the next video.